If you put an US and Euro-spec car side by side, at first glance these two look nearly identical. But look closer. This one has amber turn signals and this one red. These tiny differences aren't accidents. They're clues to a global automotive puzzle. So why do car makers like Mercedes, Audi, and Ford produce two versions of the same vehicle? And what do these changes reveal about the world we drive in? For decades, car makers have customized vehicles to suit the roads, laws, and lifestyles of both continents. And today, we're uncovering the hidden reasons behind these design splits and how they affect everything from your safety to your gas bill. Let's start with design. In Europe, regulations ban hood vents because they're seen as a pedestrian hazard. The result? Sleek, flat hoods that prioritize pedestrian safety. Meanwhile, in the US, hood vents are commonplace, engineered both to cool powerful engines and to absorb crash impacts for driver protection. Not to mention that they look sportier and cool. We like that. If we look at this graph, 80% of the cars in the EU market include rear fog lights, as they are mandatory in low visibility conditions. In the US, however, rear fog lights are rare, as regulators are afraid they might simply just confuse drivers. These seemingly small tweaks reveal a lot about regional priorities. Where Europe values streamlined safety, the US embraces a more robust design.
How will I know which one is right for me?
Let's take BMW for example. They optimize smaller turbocharged engines for fuel efficiency and agility, perfect for Germany's Autobahn. Meanwhile, American automakers like Ford celebrate raw power, with V8s designed for highway cruising and straight-line speed. In Europe, 40% of cars feature manual transmission for enhanced driver control. Comparing that to the US, where 96% of the cars come with an automatic, makes it feel like people in Europe really don't want driving to get any easier. So what they do when they're sick playing with that kung fu shifter? Right, go straight in the EV market. Other than that, automatic is easier to operate and manual is cheaper to repair. But you know one thing we all care about? Safety. And here's where things split dramatically. European models like this Golf were engineered with pedestrian protection in mind. They get a lightweight aluminum hood designed to crumple, reducing head injuries in collisions. Meanwhile, American cars like this Chevrolet Malibu prioritize shielding occupants. Its bumper houses a steel reinforcement bar twice as thick as the Golf's, and the frame is fortified to handle high-speed highway crashes, reflecting US standards that test collisions at 35 miles per hour into a rigid barrier. Based on safety engineers, in Europe, dense cities mean protecting people outside the car is non-negotiable. Compared to the US, where drivers log 3 times more highway miles, survival inside the cabin is the priority. In other words, thanks to the EU pedestrian safety laws, a car with sharp edges and non-deformable stainless steel body, like the Cybertruck, can't be legal in Europe.
Nobody care about that shit.
As we accelerate into the EV era, the differences between US and Euro-spec cars aren't going anywhere. They're evolving. Even when car makers produce the same model for both markets, they engineer them differently to meet regional demands. Take the Volkswagen ID.4. In Europe, it's tuned for efficiency, with a smaller battery, narrower tires, and a softer suspension for urban streets. In the US, the same car gets a bigger battery, wider tires, and a firmer ride to handle long highway stretches and rougher roads. And it's not just Volkswagen. The Ford Mustang Mach-E sold in the US has a larger battery and a more aggressive throttle response than its European counterpart, which prioritizes range and smoother power delivery to fit stricter efficiency regulations. Even charging speeds are affected. Euro-spec EVs are built around a dense public charging network, designed for fast top-ups during short stops. In the US, cars are designed for home charging and long-haul road trips, leading to larger battery packs and a preference for high range over efficiency. These differences aren't just about battery size or tuning, they reflect the way people use cars. In Europe, where cities are compact and fuel is expensive, EVs are built for efficiency and daily usability. In the US, where distances are greater and highways dominate, EVs need endurance, power, and the ability to replace gas-powered trucks and SUVs. The electric revolution may be global, but the cars themselves, they're still built for two very different worlds. The differences between these cars don't just stop at design or performance, they follow you all the way to the repair shop.
Here we go again.
Owning a European car in the US can cost you up to 40% more in maintenance, and it's not just because of labor costs. The way these cars are engineered plays a huge role. Take the same Audi sold in both markets. The European version is built with lightweight aluminum suspension components, precision engineered for sharp handling and fuel efficiency. But aluminum wears faster, bends more easily, and requires specialized tools and training to repair. The US version, it often swaps some of those parts for steel. Heavier, yes, but far more durable and cheaper to fix. It's the same story under the hood. Euro-spec cars rely heavily on turbocharged engines, tuned for efficiency and emissions regulations. But in reality, turbos add complexity, more heat, more pressure, and more components that can fail. In contrast, US-spec models often get larger, naturally aspirated engines that are easier to maintain, built for longevity rather than squeezing out every drop of efficiency. Then there's the parts supply, where in Europe, mechanics have quick access to manufacturer-certified components, and servicing is streamlined by strict regulations. In the US, finding parts for an imported European model can mean long wait times and high costs, especially for cars built outside North America. Meanwhile, American cars are built with widely available, interchangeable parts, making repairs faster and more affordable. For many drivers, this maintenance trap becomes a deciding factor. Like, do you choose precision and performance, knowing repairs might be costly? Or do you opt for simpler engineering, sacrificing some refinement but saving on upkeep? Either way, the differences between these cars don't just affect how they drive, they shape the entire ownership experience. And there's another layer to this story, about where and how these cars are being built. Take the Euro-spec E-Class for example. This car is assembled in Germany with a workforce trained under some of the strictest quality control standards in the industry. Comparing that to the US-spec version of the same car, and chances are, it was built in North America, often in a factory in Mexico. So what's the easiest way to spot the difference? The VIN number. European-built models start with W for Germany, while North American-built versions have VINs beginning with numbers, revealing a different production origin. And here's where the debate begins. Some enthusiasts argue that European-built models feel more solid, with tighter panel gaps, higher-grade materials, and more meticulous attention to detail. In contrast, US-spec versions, though still engineered by the same company, may experience minor differences due to local sourcing of parts and variations in assembly processes. Automakers insist that every factory follows the same strict quality standards, no matter where the car is built. But when a German-built 3 Series feels slightly different from its North American assembled counterpart, perception becomes reality for buyers who value craftsmanship over cost cutting. So, does the origin of manufacturing impact quality? Or is it just a matter of perception? That really goes down on who you ask. The same Mercedes-Benz built for Europe and America takes on a different identity depending on where it's sold. For decades, these differences have defined how cars are built, sold, and driven. European models prioritize efficiency, precision, and pedestrian safety. American versions favor comfort, power, and durability. These aren't just engineering choices, they're reflections of the environments they were made for. But as the world changes, so do the cars we drive. Electric vehicles, autonomous technology, and globalized production are already blurring the lines between regional designs. The distinct identities of European and American cars may not last forever, but for now, they remain a fascinating reminder that no two roads or drivers are ever quite the same. I hope this video made things a little clearer about why EU and US spec cars are different. And if you enjoyed watching it, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. But until then, here are a few other videos you might want to see next.